Today, I'm going to get rid of my normal palette that I use with all of my paints, and I'm going to replace it with my kids' paints. One thing you'll notice is there are a lot of colors here. Pink and purple has been used heavily on this palette. There is so much discussion on what paint to use, and there are so many options of colors and brands. So I thought today I'd try something a little different and see what I can accomplish with the cheapest paints that I can get my hands on. Art supplies is an investment, and so we want to know, is this investment worth it? So let's jump into this and see what I can accomplish with this cheap set of watercolor paints. And I think that the results here might surprise you. Here's the scene I'm going to paint. I just wanted something simple that had some light and shadow. I'm going to use the lid of my palette, put these right here. The first thing I'm going to do is spray down these paints really well. They're very dry. So I laid out a simple drawing, played with my composition a little bit. I like to pre-wet my paper, the front and the back. This gives me some time to work wet and wet around the scene. So I'm going to take a little bit of this blue, and I'm going to stop when I get to the roof of the house, kind of bringing that down. Maybe there's a little more strength on some of that. I'll take some more of this blue and just add a few areas of some interest. Let's just take some of the red, some of the orange. Oh, there's some gray here with some yellow. We'll just mix that in, let it all kind of fuzz together. You know, I'm surprisingly kind of liking these colors so far. This is so funny. Who needs Daniel Smith paints when you can buy a kid's set for $15? I will say the hardest part, what I'm having the most problem with right now, is getting enough paint. I just can't get strength. That looks a little too warm, I think. Let me neutralize that a little bit. Greens are going to be a challenge. I really would like to dull that down. I'm having a hard time coming up with the color that I want. And I'm really trying to get some more strength near the foreground, and I'm having a really hard time. Oh, there's like a olive color green here. I'm gonna mix that into what I have. Just trying to find something that has some punch to it. And just add some, a little bit of interest into the foreground. I guess that's okay. I'm struggling. There's some area of grass around the house, some green grass. And I wanted to see if I could put that in. Just desperately trying to create some little bit of interest, something to happen over here. So I'm going to let this dry. We'll come back in and we're going to paint that dark area of trees behind the house here. Then into the shadow side of this building, add a few more little bits of texture and detail around the scene, and we'll be done. All right, things have dried. And now I'm ready to move into the next phase of the painting. I'm a little worried about this phase because I was having a hard time getting strong enough paint in the light values phase of my painting. And now I'm going to need to paint even darker. It's just so hard to get any paint. I think that's the hardest part about this so far. I'm also noticing that things get really muddy really fast. I don't think I'll be able to do much dry brush at all because I can't get consistency that I want. Now I'm gonna connect that right into the shadow of this house. The paint is a little chalky and it tends to dry really quickly. So you don't have as much time to work wet into wet. And I can come back in later and fiddle with that. There, that's a little bit of texture. I want to connect a shadow to the ground. Just trying to find some paint. The paint is like chalky, kind of sandy consistency. It's odd. Let's see, what did I have here? Oh, I have a little bit of that left. That'll work. Now that I have that main shape in, I can start to think about some of the little bits of detail that are on this house. Man, again, these paints are dry. Looking for some earth tone. Ugh. Try to get some texture. There is a significant drop-off in quality, in appearance, in mixing, in strength, when you go from a professional grade paint to the very cheapest level of paint that you can get. But what doesn't change is your ability to see values, to see the shapes of the scene, to come up with a good composition. The easy thing to do is to think that that next pigment, that next brush, that's gonna make the difference in your artwork. That's gonna elevate your work to the next level. And so we can spend all this time thinking about supplies. Do I have the right paper? Do I have the right brushes? Do I have the right pigments? I remember being there too. I would always wanna see, what does this artist have on their palette? But really, what the difference is, time. Giving it time. It's the most difficult ingredient to get your hands on, but it's the one that is the most valuable. Spending time in your sketchbooks, working out compositions, things like watercolor timing, paint consistency, learning about values. These are the things that are gonna make the most difference in your painting, more so than the supplies that you choose to use. Here's a look at my final painting. I will be giving these paints back to my kids, and I will be continuing to use my Daniel Smith paints. It is kind of surprising what you can accomplish with some really cheap supplies if you know the basics of watercolor and some of the fundamental skills that will still translate no matter what supplies you are using. So if you're looking to take the next step in your painting, your next big leap forward as an artist, I have a free video workshop just for you. In this video, I talk about how to plan your painting, how to mindfully paint your scene, and how to know when to put your brush down before you overwork your painting. Now, along with this video, I give you a pre-painting checklist that you could take a look at before every painting. And this is gonna help you keep on track and ensure that you're thinking through these important things before you get started. Now, if you're ready to take the next step in your painting, all you have to do is click on this link right here and watch my free video lesson, The 7 Secrets of Fresh and Powerful Painting. I'll see you there.